What if I told you that staying awake for just 11 days could literally destroy your brain and kill you? A teenager actually did this in 1964, and what happened to his body during those 264 hours will make you never want to skip sleep again. Sleep. We spend about 1/3 of our entire lives doing it. That's roughly 25 years if you live to 75. But have you ever wondered what would actually happen if you just stopped? Not for one night, but completely. What if you decided right now that you're never going to sleep again? The answer is way more terrifying than you think, and it starts happening faster than you'd imagine. Let's be real for a second. Most of us already don't get enough sleep. We stay up late scrolling through videos, playing games, or just can't fall asleep because our minds won't shut up. And when morning comes, we drag ourselves out of bed feeling like zombies. But that's nothing compared to what happens when you actually stop sleeping completely. See, your body isn't designed to stay awake forever. Sleep isn't just about feeling rested. It's when your brain does some serious cleanup work. While you're sleeping, your brain is busy removing toxic waste products that build up during the day. It's like taking out the trash. If you never sleep, that trash just keeps piling up in your brain. And trust me, you don't want that. But here's where it gets really interesting. We actually know what happens when you stop sleeping because people have done it, both on purpose and by accident. There's this rare genetic condition called fatal familial insomnia. People with this disease literally cannot sleep no matter what they do. And the word fatal is in the name for a reason. These people slowly lose the ability to sleep over months and eventually they die. Every single time. There's no cure, no treatment, nothing. Their bodies just shut down because they can't sleep. And then there's Randy Gardner, the teenager I mentioned earlier. In 1964, when he was just 17 years old, he decided to stay awake for a science project. He wanted to see how long a human could go without sleep. The answer? 11 days, 264 hours, and 30 minutes. And during those 11 days, his body and mind went through absolute hell. So let's break down exactly what happens to your body and brain when you stop sleeping, hour by hour, day by day. In the first 24 hours without sleep, you're probably fine. You might feel a bit tired, maybe a little grumpy, but nothing too serious. Your brain is still functioning pretty normally. You can still think clearly, make decisions, and go about your day. This is basically what happens when you pull an all-nighter for school or work. Not fun, but manageable. But once you hit the 36-hour mark, things start to change. Your body begins to crave sleep desperately. Your brain starts to slow down. Simple tasks become harder. You might struggle to remember things or have trouble focusing. Your reaction time gets slower, which is why driving after being awake this long is actually more dangerous than driving drunk. Yeah, you heard that right. Being awake for 24 hours straight affects your brain the same way as having a blood alcohol level of 0.10%, which is above the legal limit in most places. But once you hit the 36-hour mark, things start to change. Your body begins to crave sleep desperately. Your brain starts to slow down. Simple tasks become harder. You might struggle to remember things or have trouble focusing. Your body also starts acting weird. Your metabolism gets messed up. Your body starts releasing more cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Your blood pressure goes up. Your immune system starts to weaken. Basically, your body is freaking out because it knows something is very wrong. After 48 hours or 2 full days without sleep, your brain really starts to struggle. This is when things get scary. You might start experiencing what doctors call microsleeps. These are moments where your brain just shuts off for a few seconds, even though your eyes are open. You're not conscious during these moments. It's like your brain is trying to force you to sleep, even if just for a second or two. Imagine you're driving or walking downstairs when this happens. Not good. Your thinking becomes really slow and confused. You might forget what you were doing or saying mid-sentence. Your emotions go haywire. You might feel super anxious, paranoid, or depressed for no reason. Some people start crying randomly. Others get really angry over tiny things. Your brain just can't regulate emotions properly anymore. And here's something really messed up. Your perception of reality starts to break down. You might see things moving in the corner of your eye that aren't there. Shadows might look like people. You hear sounds that don't exist. Your brain is so desperate for sleep that it starts creating its own reality. When Randy Gardner reached the 72-hour mark, 3 days without sleep, he started having serious problems. He couldn't remember simple things. He got really moody and would snap at people for no reason. His speech became slurred, like he was drunk, even though he hadn't touched any alcohol. He had trouble reading and couldn't finish sentences. By day 4 and 5, Randy was in really bad shape. He started having delusions. He thought he was a famous football player. He thought a street sign was a person. He couldn't do simple math problems that a kid could solve. His eyes hurt. Everything was blurry. He felt dizzy all the time. His hands were shaking. He couldn't walk straight. But here's what's really fascinating. Randy's body started to adapt in weird ways. Sometimes he would seem almost normal for short periods. He could hold a conversation or play a simple game. But then suddenly he would completely zone out or say something that made no sense. His brain was trying so hard to function, but it just couldn't keep up. By day 6 and 7, Randy was experiencing something called hypnagogic hallucinations. These are the kind of hallucinations you might get right before falling asleep, except he was having them while wide awake. He saw things that weren't there. He heard voices. Reality and dreams were blending together in his mind. He couldn't tell what was real anymore. His physical health was also falling apart. His body temperature was dropping. His immune system was basically not working. If he had gotten sick during this time, his body wouldn't have been able to fight it off. His heart rate was irregular. His blood pressure was all over the place. Every system in his body was screaming for sleep. Days 8, 9, and 10 were even worse. Randy couldn't form complete thoughts. He would start saying something and then just stop halfway through, forgetting what he was talking about. He was paranoid. He thought people were trying to hurt him. He couldn't recognize his own reflection in the mirror. His brain was essentially breaking down. Scientists monitoring Randy noticed something terrifying. Parts of his brain were actually falling asleep while other parts were still awake. It's like his brain was so desperate for rest that individual sections were just shutting down, even though he was technically still conscious. This is your brain's last-ditch effort to survive. By day 11, Randy was barely functioning as a human being. He couldn't remember anything. He couldn't think. He couldn't speak properly. His body was shutting down. If he had tried to keep going, doctors believe he would have died within days, maybe even hours. His brain simply couldn't take anymore. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. We don't actually know if Randy fully recovered. See, this experiment happened in 1964. We didn't have the brain scanning technology back then that we have now. We couldn't see what was really happening inside his brain. And Randy himself has said in interviews years later that he suffered from insomnia for years after the experiment. He had trouble sleeping normally. His sleep patterns were messed up for a long time. And that brings us to the really scary part. What if you didn't stop after 11 days? What if you somehow found a way to keep going? Well, we actually know what happens because of fatal familial insomnia, that genetic disease I mentioned earlier. People with this condition start by having trouble falling asleep. Then they can't sleep at all. As months go by without sleep, they start losing weight rapidly because their metabolism is completely destroyed. They become unable to control their body temperature. They stop being able to speak or move properly. They have constant hallucinations. They become completely disconnected from reality. They essentially go insane. And then, after several months of this torture, they die. Their brain just gives up. It can't function without sleep. The neurons start dying, the brain tissue breaks down, and eventually the body follows. The world record for the longest time without sleep is technically Randy Gardner's 11 days. But that's only because after his experiment, Guinness World Records stopped accepting submissions for this record. They realized it was way too dangerous. People were literally risking their lives trying to break the record. And here's another crazy thing. Animals die even faster without sleep than humans do. Scientists did experiments on rats where they kept them from sleeping. Every single rat died within 2 to 3 weeks. Not months, weeks. Their bodies just completely shut down. They couldn't regulate their temperature. They lost massive amounts of weight. Even though they were eating more food than usual, their immune systems collapsed. And then they died. Your brain needs sleep more than it needs food. You can survive weeks without eating, but you can't survive weeks without sleeping. Sleep is not optional. It's not a luxury. It's not something you can catch up on later. Your brain needs it every single night to function properly. So what if you stop sleeping? In the first day, you'd be tired and grumpy. In the second day, your brain would start shutting down in small ways. By the third day, you'd be seeing things that aren't there. By day 4 or 5, you'd be experiencing delusions and losing touch with reality. By day 7 or 8, your brain would be desperately trying to sleep even while you're awake. By day 10 or 11, you'd be barely functioning as a human being. And if you somehow kept going beyond that, within weeks or months, you would die. Your brain would literally break down and your body would follow. The longest anyone has ever stayed awake under monitored conditions is 11 days, and that person barely made it. His brain was falling apart. His body was shutting down. And even after he recovered, he might have had lasting effects that we still don't fully understand. Sleep is not a waste of time. It's not something you can skip to be more productive. It's literally what keeps your brain alive. When you sleep, your brain is cleaning itself, repairing damage, forming memories, and preparing for the next day. Without it, You would die. Simple as that. So the next time you think about staying up all night or bragging about how little sleep you got, remember Randy Gardner. Remember those 11 days of hell. Remember that your brain needs sleep more than it needs almost anything else. Because the answer to what if you stop sleeping is not you'd have more time to do stuff. The answer is you'd lose your mind and then you'd die. Subscribe if you want more videos about crazy what-if scenarios that will mess with your head.